Hello, everyone. I hope you've been warned. I am a disruptor. They now call me a thought leader, whatever that actually means in the scheme of things. I never liked the word leadership. Something about it has always rubbed me the wrong way. I'm a really visual person, and somewhere along the way, the image of a rough old cowboy tugging on a horse's reins got stuck in my mind. When I hear the word leadership, I think of stuffy old corporate men in suits tyking each other up during self improvement seminars in an almost cultish way that reeks of manipulation, lack of accountability, and an avoidance of actually looking at themselves because their only focus is increasing the productivity of others and ensuring they don't have to do any of the tasks they don't want to do. Now, I know, like everything else in life, this impression comes from my own life experiences and background and is likely to be far removed from the way this word hits you. I bet the first image in your head when someone says leadership isn't Hitler with his Nazi salute and hundreds of enthusiastic young men marching in what appears to be brainwashed synchronicity. I'm not really a part of the traditional corporate world. My life doesn't revolve around productivity and sales. What I know of that word is a caricature. You see, I work in a world of actually toxic leadership. You know, the stereotypes of cartel drug lords, human traffickers, and child abusers. I work in a world of victims and perpetrators. And the term leadership brings to my mind the challenges of power imbalance. For one to lead, others must follow. I've spent years telling people I have no desire to be a leader. That is just not my thing. But I had no idea how truly wrong that was. I had no idea there are many different types of leaders, and no matter how much I didn't know about leadership, I was living it each and every day. I was born the throwaway daughter of a victim of human trafficking. I spent the first few months of my life being handed over to dealers and pimps for who knows what dark purposes because my mother was more concerned with where she would get her next fix than with the health and well being of the child she gave birth to. I was a shy child, filled with the need to be seen, heard, and understood, while at the same time trying never to be seen. I never wanted to make waves, bring attention to myself, or disappoint anyone. I loved the imaginary world of books and poetry and dumped all of my ideas and energy into relationships that didn't even exist in the real world. The real world was a scary place full of people who wanted something from me. I would fall victim to childhood sexual abuse from a family member who spent years having access to me in ways I won't even describe to you today. But even then, in those early years, I had a gift to see those in pain. Those were my people. Those were the ones I wanted to spend time with. And it wouldn't take long before I became consumed by the need to help those in need. I became a problem solver, a protector, and a friend to the friendless. Using leadership training terminology, I would eventually learn this is the core values of a servant leader. We're only as strong as our weakest link. I was naturally and consistently focusing my attention towards the task of strengthening those weak links. Why would I want to lead? Some of you, like me, may not see yourself as leaders, but for all of us, there are places in our lives where we're given the opportunity to either take the lead and have some power and control over a desired outcome or sit back and watch as others fill those roles and then settle for the results they choose for you. There are only 2 roles people play in this life. You can't avoid being on the game board. Will you lead or will you follow? The best leaders know when it's time to take on both of these roles. You've probably heard the statement that not making a choice is still making a choice. Leadership is much like this. Whether you know it or not, you are innately powerful and capable of starting a movement that has the potential to transform lives, families, and even communities. How passionate are you about wanting a particular outcome or wanting to change the outcomes you're seeing occur over and over and over and over? For me, leadership is born of a need to see what at first glance seems to be insurmountable social transformations. I can't sit back and allow our military and first responders to take their own lives at rates triple those found in the civilian population. I can't sit back and allow divorce rates in military and responder families to continue to surpass 85%. I can't sit back and allow nearly 50 million people to remain trapped in the global multi-billion-dollar human trafficking industry. My version of leadership, what I'm going to call movement leadership, begins with you. Movement leadership is ignition leadership. Movement leadership begins with being an example of the change you desire to see. Leadership begins by being a beacon of integrity, authenticity, and consistency. Leadership requires clarity. What do you want? And what action are you putting your energy behind to achieve that result? Get clear on your message, your desired outcome, and at the very least, the first action step it's going to take to move the needle in the direction you desire. What is your guiding light or North Star? Leadership needs a framework. Movement leadership depends on building a framework within which others can pick up the torches you've set alight and keep moving in the direction of the change you establish through your clear messaging. When you successfully create this framework, the mission or movement can survive and grow with or without you. Otherwise, you create a dependent system that relies on you. I once thought leaders tell people what to do, but mission or movement leadership tells people where we're going. I once thought leaders drew maps for others to follow so they don't go astray. But mission or movement leaders offer a ride to those who want to hop on and give everyone else the benefit of the doubt that they can find their own route to the final destination. A great leader gives support and ensures they're available if anyone gets lost or runs out of fuel, but has faith enough to allow others to run on their own and at their own pace. Movement leadership is based on core values: support, guidance, and destinations. It's founded on the knowledge that I am but a single drop in an ocean, but when I inspire a movement going in one direction, that becomes a tidal wave of change. In this world, no one can stand alone against the darkness. Even the lighthouse has limited impact, shining its light only for brief moments in a single location. What does this look like in the real world? Leadership requires awareness. The first component of building your movement in the real world is talking about the problem. And if you're really good at this, you'll be doing this using a problem, solutions, outcome framework. Wrap that all up in a clear message of the core values that both drive your mission forward and demonstrate your awareness of the high level of responsibility you carry for what you inspire and motivate others to do. Sometimes there is as much need for clear messaging around what you do not stand for as for what you do. Your words as a leader are a very important and weighty responsibility. Never forget this or take this for granted. Leadership requires action. Offer a set of suggestions for actions those you inspire can take to get to the destination you desire, making it clear these are not the only possible routes. Invite others to contribute ideas and suggestions, and be honest about whether those suggestions or ideas fall within the parameters of the values you have established. This is important because as you're taking the responsibility of lighting a fire that moves others into action, you want to be sure that the actions they take are right actions. Never underestimate the power of inspired action toward a cause. Terrorists have been ignited into action by a desired outcome they are passionate about. And for them, there is no set of core values limiting the kinds of actions one might choose to take to get there. Stay active in your mission and messaging, and be brave enough to stand up against those who take your beacon of light and turn it into a weapon. Consistency is key in building trust and a solid foundation upon which your mission can grow. In many ways, you become a caretaker of the living organism that is your passion and purpose. The mission or movement is a child you nurture, and eventually, when it's big enough and has learned the lessons most valuable to you, you release it out into the world where it will continue to impact and mature over time. Your voice, your leadership, and your life become a legacy of transformation. Even when you never really wanted to be a leader at all. Even when all you wanted was for the world to be a better place. Even when all you wanted was to ease the pain. And sometimes you weren't sure whether it was your own pain or the pain of others you were working on transforming. For me, the reality of it is somewhere along this journey, if I'm being honest with myself, the ugly mess that was my own healing journey happened right out there in front of the whole world. Every last vulnerable and violent detail fell out of my pen and out of my mouth and onto the often completely speechless crowds looking at me for hope, guidance, and dare I use the word leadership. For so many years, I continued to tell people I don't care about being a leader. I'm just here to do the work that needs to be done. I would get behind someone else and push and push and push because they simply weren't moving fast enough, or they were going in the wrong direction. And the movement was inside of me straining to break out. Despite a long and winding road, the destination was never out of focus. Obstacles washed over me frequently, threatening to pull me under. These are the riptides of life. No part of the journey is insignificant. I'm married an abuser. As many survivors of childhood sexual assault that struggle with attachment disorders tend to do. And it drove me to find ways to stay away from home as much as possible. I continued to hide away in the safe shelter of books and eventually found my way back to school, where I sought a medical degree. I knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't really know what that would look like because there wasn't anyone there to help me. This is part of the fire that burns inside me and fuels the movement. I carry the deep wounds of working in the emergency room trauma bays of a busy hospital. and running the ambulance, responding to auto accidents caused by DUI drivers who walked away without injury while leaving a family of 5 struggling for their lives. Home births of preemies addicted to drugs while their mothers overdosed on the floor, oblivious to their dying child. I held the hand of a mother who ran over her own toddler and watched the light of love fade out of her husband's eyes, knowing they would never survive this together. These are the visions I still see in my dreams. This is part of the fire that burns inside me that fuels the movement. I had my own children, 2 beautiful little girls, and I took a job working for a private investigations team. I thought I was going to be working primarily as a crime scene reconstructionist and forensic interviewer. I ended up on a human trafficking task force doing forensic investigations. I never wanted my children to fall victim to what I had experienced, or to the horrors I now knew existed out there in the world. This is part of the fire that burns inside me and fuels my mission. This fire became the fuel that ignited into an inferno, and Rise Up Phoenix was born. I had to burn down myself, my fear, my expectations, my self-imposed limitations and beliefs, and allow the painful process of healing and growth so I could spread my wings and take flight. Even when I was just a single drop in an ocean, my voice became a tidal wave of change. I led a revolution. My movement is Rise Up, and it's tearing down old systems and structures that devalue the lives of the innocent and those who dedicate their lives to their protection. This drop in the ocean has intervened for over 400 responders considering suicide, assisted over 1,000 couples avoid divorce. I've personally been boots on the ground for the rescue of 17 human trafficking victims and assisted in the investigations that rescued hundreds more. I have responded to more than 50 community disasters, from child abductions and suicides to wildfires, hurricanes, and landslides, supporting victims, families, and communities with mental health and critical needs support. This drop in the ocean has made a huge impact. I now lead unapologetically from the front of the room and from the back. With traditional leadership roles in search and rescue, a human trafficking task force, Rise Up Phoenix Trauma and Crisis Institute, and Battle to Be Incorporated. I speak often on a wide variety of topics, lead town halls, influence government policy, write groundbreaking research, and publish textbooks that become the new standards of resilience and safety protocols for schools, organizations, and communities. The shy little girl who never wanted to be seen has fully embraced the power of her voice. She's started a fire that burns far and wide out of a simple childhood need to be a friend to the friendless, a voice for those who cannot speak, and a light that shines into the darkest of places. She created from blood, sweat, and tears the movement that drives her and fills her heart and soul. And somewhere along the way, wholeheartedly and unexpectedly, embrace the traditional roles of leadership I so steadfastly disavowed for so many years. If those who lead with their core values at the forefront of their work do not take the lead and step into their power, it is inevitable that others who are not bound by any such moral compass will. And what kind of world will we live in then? Each of us may alone be a single drop in an ocean, but together we are a tidal wave of change. If you would like to connect and have a conversation after this presentation, please feel free to message me at battle2be, BATTLE, the number 2, BE, at yahoo.com. All messages do come directly to me, or visit our website, battle2be.org, BATTLE2BE.org. If you feel compelled to donate to our mission, you can do so by using the Donate Now button at the top of our website. Thank you, everyone. My name is Krista Fee, and I am the Executive Director of RISEUP Phoenix Trauma and Crisis Institute and Battle to Be Incorporated, the 501c3 nonprofit organization. Thank you for your time.